Hello again, it's me, and I have a really exciting announcement. For me it's quite exciting, and I hope for many of you it will be exciting as well. And I wanted to, as opposed to sending an email or making a series of phone calls, I thought I would make video and tell you what's about to happen. And what's about to happen is, by the time any of you watch this, I will be walking home as a Peace Pilgrim. I knew my time here in Germany was wrapping up. You can kind of tell when things are kind of coming to a close in one life phase and when another one's about to begin. And for the last 2 years, I've been feeling more and more like it was really getting time to go. And I kind of knew that I wanted to, of course, leave Germany and go to a different place and share what I have to share with a different group of people. I was thinking, and still am thinking, back in the United States. And for a while I was just thinking, okay, you'll get your final plane ticket, you'll fly out, and you'll land in America, and you'll then do a series of pilgrimages there for the rest of your life. Which felt cool, but something was kind of gnawing at me that wasn't the most powerful thing I could do. So what came to me quite recently was this very clear vision or idea or knowing that I was going to walk home. I was going to walk from Stuttgart, Germany to the coast and try to hop on a boat and get back to the States that way. So that's what I'm doing. Right now, as you're watching this video, I am walking somewhere through Europe, headed westward, just trying to do the good I can do every day, and flowing along smoothly with the intention of one day making it back to the States, to continue spreading my message there. It doesn't have to be the States. I have full faith that I'll end up there. Somehow I just feel like I'll end up there. It doesn't seem like a big deal to me to make it there at some point. Not only do I have a relatively receptive audience there, but America does seem to be kind of going to hell in a handbasket these days. There are a lot of people who are having a lot of trouble. Society seems to be kind of falling apart there, and that is the environment where my message tends to resonate the most. And it just makes sense. I don't know if I'll get there, but it makes sense. So anyway, as of now, I'm walking. That's the win. Now, it's happening right now, which is very exciting for me. I've been kind of preparing for this for 13 years now. I thought this is what I was going to be doing 13 years ago. In February of 2006, oh, actually it started in the summer of 2005, but I actually did my first presentation February of 2006 with the intention of then setting out shortly thereafter to walk as I'm now walking. And as many of you know, one thing led to another, and I just ended up not living that way. I was still a Peace Pilgrim. I've still been a Peace Pilgrim, dedicating my life every day to selflessly serving others and spreading that message that others might do the same. And other than one pilgrimage I took in 2011, where I walked from Chattanooga down to Miami, most of the way anyway, I've been not really living the walking Peace Pilgrimage. I've been living other forms of Peace Pilgrimage. Here in Germany, I have a job, and I've been just sleeping in a warehouse. I have no car, very little clothes. I give away 85% of my money. I keep just enough to eat. All my rest of my money I give away. I still try to spread the same message, but it hasn't really been a walking Peace Pilgrimage. So for 13 years, I've kind of been getting ready to do this. And I've known for about a year now that the time was coming really, really soon. And I've been preparing for months now, the last several months, very, very, very earnestly, every day, to be ready to go when the time comes, and the time has come, and I'm walking. So that's that, which is kind of neat. What that is every day getting up, putting a smile on my face, and just walking smoothly throughout the day, encountering with kindness as many people as possible, and trying to do as much good as possible. It's not really a preaching event. If anybody asks me what I'm doing and why, or asks me my opinion on anything in particular, Of course, I speak with him about it. The door's open. We can communicate. But I don't wander around in any of my Peace pilgrimages, in any of the ways I've been living, and say, hey, I've got this better idea. Or I don't do any of that. So it's just walking smoothly. And if that turns out to be 10 miles a day, if that turns out to be 30, just whatever that day calls for. If anybody asks me along the way to stop and help them for any number of days or weeks, I always say yes. And then when that service is done, I wake up the next morning and I walk on. And that's how that generally looks. I am going to be wearing this smock, which I wore on my last Peace pilgrimage. It was made for me by the Peace Artist. You guys can Google Peace Artist, or on Facebook. He's also on Facebook. Really cool guy. Neil Yasami is his name. He made me this way back in 2011. Numinous Nomad is what's on the front. I could have put Peace Pilgrim on the front, but I kind of felt funny about that. I really honor the Peace Pilgrim, the woman who walked from 1958 to 1981, I believe. Something like that. Is that right? I think that's right. Yeah, anyway, she walked for a long time in a similar fashion for a similar goal, spreading kindness, love, selflessness, serving others as opposed to serving self. And I didn't want to diminish her story by wearing the same title. So I came up with Numinous Nomad. Nomad is clear. Someone who has no home of their own, someone who makes the world their home, someone who just flows from place to place, often purposefully, which I'll be doing, am doing, actually, at the viewing of this video. Yay! Numinous is a reference to the divine within. Whether it has nothing to do with religion or even spirituality. It is the enigmatic essence that gives consciousness to sentient beings, that gives moral awareness to sentient beings, that gives the spark of wonderment in nature, that is embodied in the earth and the minerals of the earth, which are composed, that bring life to living beings from the death of beings that have passed before and become the dirt again. It's that beautiful cycle. It's the oneness that we all are literally interconnected, and maybe the call that we, all of us, at least all conscious beings have, very least all humans have, deep within us, to act accordingly, to set aside the primitive and barbaric impulses and instincts to care for ourselves, and only those we love or care, who care for us, and to really reach out and try to do some greater good, to care for everyone, to bring us together in peace and harmony. So, hence Numinous Nomad. Where I'll be going, I walked a stretch of the Camino de Santiago, which in German, the Jakobsweg, from the French Pyrenees all the way to the coast of Spain back in 2008. And it turns out that there are many, many tributaries of that same path throughout Europe. And one of those tributaries runs just south of Stuttgart. I'm not going to join up with it right away, but I'll be walking southwest out of Stuttgart down to a town, my plan is anyway, to a town called Schirneich. And what I've read anyway, one of this tributary runs, of the Camino, runs through Schirneich. Now I don't necessarily intends to walk on the Camino the whole way. I'm going to go wherever I'm called to go. I'm gonna embrace every contact I have with anybody, and if that means all of a sudden walking north 50 miles one day to help somebody do something, and then walking back slowly towards the coast, if that means at some point abandoning this Camino idea entirely and just walking to England and trying to flow back to the States from England. I mean, there are no real tight destinations here, or time frames. But the general intention is to flow on or near the Camino all the way to the coast of Spain, and then walk up and down the coast, maybe for a few days, maybe for a few months, until I would find a boat captain of one of those big tanker ships, I assume, who would take me over the sea, because it's all about, for me anyway, flowing in the moment towards those who might be in need, and to places where there's the greatest potential to serve. And that's why the end vision for me is the United States. The people speak English there. I've had past success there before relaying this message. And I really believe that the society in the United States is going to very soon be in great need of the message that I happen to have to share. That, love is not just a neat moral concept, but it is a practical, functional truth when you have the courage to actually boldly put it into practice, right? And so that's that. The how I'll be walking, it's essentially the standard Peace Pilgrim routine. It's just the clothes on your back. I'm going to have a little bag with a change of underwear, change of socks, a little sketchbook that I'll be writing in and journaling in, because when I tend to walk, through my experience with past pilgrimages, I tend to get some really clear inspirational thoughts, and I like to put those down so I can share them with others, either during or after the pilgrimage. Yeah. And I'll be taking and using no money. I will be essentially fasting until offered food, and sleeping wherever I end up being tired. If someone offers me a sofa or a bed or a church pew, fine. If not, I'll just, find a bench somewhere and hunker down. I've done it before. It sounds dramatic. It really is not dramatic. The climate's pretty mild where I'm going. Those things are really, I have very little concern about any of those things. I guess because I've done it before. I guess if I'd never done it before, I would, but I don't. I won't be taking a phone, and I won't be taking any identification. Adopting, as of now, the Scaughdt I was born as, and even this strange spelled Scaughdt that I've adopted through my website and my presentations over the last 17 years. I guess in 2001 I adopted the name Scaughdt, S-C-A-U-G-H-D-T, which I might still be using that name every now and then, but I'm going to drop the identification. Number one, because I don't personally feel that it's moral to be associated with the American United States government anymore. It really hasn't been for many, many decades, but certainly not when I'm doing what I'm doing. The American people, awesome. Love them, love them, love them. The American government, really a huge non-fan. So I'll be burning my passport before I leave, my driver's license, all my ID, and adopting this new identity, which has a secondary purpose of keeping people from distracting themselves by asking me, where were you born, and where did you go to school, and how did you grow up, and that happens pretty often in my past when I would speak with people, is they would hear my message, and as opposed to going into depth on the message, which is making real love self-sacrificial and powerful and world-changing and real, right? We would go off on these weird, meaningless tangents of me. It's not about me. So in order to really not make it about me, me is gone, right? I mean, I'm still me, but So that's how I'm going to be doing it. And then comes the question, why in the world are you doing this, man? And do you really have to do this? No, I don't have to do it. I mean, I could stay here in Germany and get involved with the incredible animal rights activist movement here in Stuttgart and do a lot, and maybe find an audience for my other areas of knowledge. Radical kindness, selflessness, self-sustainable community are three areas that I tend to have a lot of good information on that I can share with people. That would be okay. I could do some good here with that. There's not as great an audience here in Germany, or really Europe for that, because the societies here tend to still be functioning. People tend to be pretty comfortable. Their basic needs are met, no matter what happens to them, because the governments here, even though it's getting a little worse, they do what they're supposed to do, which is care for their citizens, right? So there's no real impetus to adopt a radical or courageous lifestyle when everything's going great, or at least going good enough, right? I've lived this for the last 7 years. I mean, people hear what I have to share, and they kind of nod their head like, oh, that sounds neat. But they're not going to change because they have their standard materialistic concerns, and they're comfortable, and they want to stay comfortable. And so why would you risk it if you're already comfortable, right? That's oversimplified, of course. But in general, That's why Europe is kind of out. And on top of that, layered on top of that is, if any of you have done any research or any real objective looking into what's happening in the world, we are in trouble. Pretty much any climatologist of any worth will tell you, most doctors are admitting now the connection between our imminent climate catastrophe and animal agriculture, and the fact, on top of that, that we don't even need to be consuming or abusing or oppressing any animals to live longer, healthier lives. But we're doing it anyway, right? And it's the major cause. It is by far the major cause, with fossil fuel use being a distant second place. But, the world has fallen apart ecologically. And we're doing it. We humans are doing it. And if we don't change, it looks really bad for us. I shouldn't say bad. It looks like the majority of us will be dead in 200 years. Deservedly, maybe, but I tend to have a greater faith in humanity. I think we could be something much, much greater, as opposed to kind of a cancer. I think we could be caretakers, right? And I see that in more and more people around me. People are waking up to this more oneness-centric as opposed to self-centric way of being, right? And so that's kind of why I've got to do this. I have to do it, not only do it, but it needs to be done as powerfully as possible. And how it turns out is that the more powerful or radical the message, the more powerfully or radically it has to be walked in order for it to be powerfully or radically heard and implemented. So I'm sitting here in Germany, living a relatively radical life. Sleeping in a warehouse, not having a home or a phone or a car is pretty radical for most Germans, but I'm not really seen a lot, and people after the first year, the novelty wore off, and now I'm just the weird guy in the warehouse, right? So it's not radical enough. It's not in their face enough to get people to pause and remember. Or then after remembering, go forth and re-member, to start living more powerfully, more kindly, more selflessly, more morally, ethically. And that's because it's relatively cozy. It sounds harsh, sleeping on the floor of a warehouse, but to be honest, it's pretty cozy, I got my routine figured out. I'm just in cruise control all the time. And so this message, it needs to be heard. If we are going to have a chance, and I don't have to be the only one relaying it, but I am one of the few who currently is relaying it. And if people don't start, if even a portion of humanity doesn't wake up and start listening and enacting this message or some tenets thereof, it's going to get really challenging, if not dramatically unpleasant, really soon. And if not this generation, certainly the end of the next generation, and certainly full bore 2 generations from now, are going to have just chaos and crises and suffering. And I don't want anybody to suffer. And our way out is, in large part, creatively implementing these principles that I've been sharing for the last, living and sharing the last 12 years. So that's kind of why I'm doing it. I have to do it boldly in order for people to pause and go, whoa. The second advantage of that is, because it's an odd lifestyle, no one else is doing it, and it just on its face looks weird, people tend to be open, right? I don't tell anybody anything. I wait for them to come ask me, and yet because I'm walking with no money, smiling at everybody, closing my back, which people can feel there's something unusual going on regularly, and I've experienced this truth many times in the past. People come up to me and they say, "What are you doing?" And I tell them, and they're like, "How do you survive?" And then we can talk about that, right? And we have a real connection because they asked me. They want to hear. They're open. And that openness is crucial when hearing messages that are scary or challenging or unconventional. And so that's another reason why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. And the third reason I'm doing it this way is because without having to say a word, a Peace Pilgrim preaches these powerful concepts because he or she is living them, right? I'm living truth, that when you give yourself to the whole, you are sustained by the whole. I'm living proof that when you dedicate your life to giving, you're never happier. And I am an awakener for people who see that, to remember that giving selflessly, giving to others while not only not expecting anything in return, but not wanting anything in return, is not just for Christmas or Hanukkah or any other religious or celebratory holiday, right? It's for every day of our lives, yeah? And on top of that, then, because I have no food, I ask for no food, I have no money, I have essentially only what's on me, then I'm an easy opportunity for them not only to remember this, but then to offer me things, which is nice for me. I mean, I like getting a salad or a bagel or, the vegan rice and veggies, whatever anybody wants to give me, and I appreciate that greatly. And I've experienced this beautiful truth: the one who gets the greatest victory out of that encounter is the one doing the giving. I mean, I would sit in go sit in a Burger King and just sit there for a while to rest out of the heat at my last pilgrimage, and someone would come up and talk to me for a while and ask what I was doing, and they would buy me a salad, and I would be eating the salad, and they would just be glowing with this beautiful happiness that you just don't see every day, because they had given to someone where it was clear nothing was coming back. I couldn't give them anything in return. I had nothing, right? So, and then that lights up their life for weeks. Just that one act of real selflessness. And so that's kind of the roundabout why of why I'm walking the way I'm walking, and why I really feel compelled to do this. There are lots of other beautiful opportunities in my life where I could go and how I could live differently, and I would never be satisfied, because deep down I know that this is, while I still can, this is what I got to do. And so as of the viewing of this video, I'm doing it. Will I make it to the States? Will I succeed in the traditional sense? Maybe not. I think so, but maybe not. But the beauty of it is, the minute I sacrifice everything, literally, and take that first step out this door, the success has been attained, and everything else on top of that is just a bonus. And that's a truth with any selfless act of giving. It doesn't have to be a pilgrimage. In any moment of your life, the moment that you say, I don't care what happens to me or for me, this person's in need, and even though I'm scared of him or don't like him or her, or have very little myself, or I'm really tired, right, or too busy, and I do it anyway, give anyway, right? No matter how that gift is received or treasured or seen or judged is irrelevant. The victory is won, and it wells up from inside of you. This numinousness wells up from inside of you, and you know again what it is to be humane, as opposed to merely a functioning Homo sapiens. And we're more than that. We're more than that. So that's about it. I do want to say thank you very briefly to all my friends for supporting me, for all my enemies who have inspired me, to the peace artist, again, Neil, not only for the smock, but also for this laptop, which is now, he gave it to me, he just sent it to me in 2011, and I've written 60 books on it since then, and all of them on my website. I'll put all the information for contact and the website and my books and everything down in the description section of this video, so you'll have access to all of that if you want it. But thanks to Peace, thanks man. To my bosses at Bickerle and Bühler here in Stuttgart, we really never saw eye to eye on pretty much anything, but they did allow me to sleep here, and they did allow me to use their facilities to write those 60 books and to have this be a really meaningful, powerful 7 years of my life. I'm very thankful for that, always will be. A brief thank you to Facebook. I think Zuckerberg maybe could have used it, or maybe will start to use it in a more powerful, socially positive way, as opposed to merely a massive moneymaker. But at the same time, it enabled me also in these last 7 years to have contact, deep contact with thousands of people that I normally never would have been able to share with. Thankful for that. I'm thankful to Mediafire and Yumpu and Issue, the 3 online platforms that have allowed me for free to upload all of my books. And I'm thankful to Leo, who made my website, and where, as of the time of this video, the first 43 of those 60 books are embedded in the website. So if you go to inspiringthealtruisticmoment.com, I'll link that in the description. I know that's a long title. You go to the writings page, and 43 of the 60 books are already embedded. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can just click on them, PDF it, download it, print it out, they're yours. Very thankful for that, Leo. I love the website, and it's paid and will stay online through the summer of 2023. So you all have 5 years to get everything out of it that you want. And of course, thank you to each of you. Each one of you who sees this, whether I've met you before or not, are integral to humanity's potential for waking up. Each one of you can play a beautifully significant role in turning our species into what we could be as opposed to what we are. And each one of you who joins that path with me, I'm thankful for, and of course I love you unconditionally whether you do or not. Yeah. Some of you during past pilgrimages, and I'll wrap this up, would email me and say, "Oh my God, what you're doing is phenomenal or crazy or dangerous," and people get kind of worked up about this sometimes, and they would often actually say, "How can I help you? I want to help you." And I'll have regular internet contact, I assume. I'm still walking in the first world, so I assume I'll be regularly posting updates. When anyone asks me, "Do you want to get online and contact your folks or your peeps?" I'll say, "Well, yes, thank you very much." And I'll do a quick Facebook, blog, email, boom, where I am, what's going on, hello. And yet, the logistics of any of you being able to help me directly in any way are almost zero. And because the principle is true that the more difficult the walk seems, the more powerful the relaying of the message becomes to and with everyone with whom I come into contact, I don't really want any direct help. I'm not being a masochist. It's going to be difficult without me trying to make it difficult, okay? And that difficulty has a purpose, because in those times when I'm tired or in pain or just feeling blue or whatever, and reach out with a kindness anyway, the person who witnesses that or experiences that, right, feels that I am going through some personal difficulty to be kind to them anyway, and it becomes a much more powerful connection. But you can join me and help me in other ways. I thought about this because some of you are going to really have this strong desire to get involved with this or help me. The one way you can do it is you can, I'm a big believer that important writings, that digital storage is not going to be enough on the long term. I don't know what's going to happen with the web, whether it's going to collapse, whether it's going to become censored or monetized. It could get to be the point in 20 years where if you don't have enough money, you're not going to be able to access many sites with valuable information. They're going to be closed off. And so while the information is there, you can go to my website, or for the newer books, until they somehow make it onto the website, if they ever do, you can print out my books and a copy, bit by bit, all of them, a few of them, half of them, whatever you want, and you can curate them. You can keep them safe and pass them down through your family to later generations, because, as I've said before, this information is perfectly applicable to right now. Everything I write and have written I've experienced. It's true, it works, it functions, and it works for anybody and everybody. And it's going to become critical in about a couple of generations. And so the information, I'm not going to be around in a couple of generations, and so it would be nice if the information could survive that long, which in my opinion needs a hard copy. So if you feel like wanting to make hard copies and keeping that in your library, that's a powerful way you can. I'll be honored and I'd be overjoyed if you do that. The other way you can help me is you can abandon organized religion and completely abandon organized politics. And you can invest all of that time and energy into building self-sustainable community with 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 households nearby in your neighborhood. Right? Getting off the grid as much as possible, collecting and purifying rainwater, getting solar panels, community gardening, very, very important, helping the homeless and the poor in your community, and of course building this network so that someday when the social fabric in the United States or wherever you're living does collapse, as they all do eventually, you and yours will be ready to help those who are not prepared. Right? And it gets you away from this fear-based, we need the government stuff. These politicians, God bless them, it's broken. They're not concerned. They talk like they're concerned about us. And how I have much compassion for them because they've just lost their way. What they're concerned about is playing the power game and or getting reelected. And that's some easy research to see that that's generally, if not always, the truth. But we don't need them, right? We don't need them. You know, build your community, become self-sustainable, and spread that interconnection and that communal love. Build that, make it real again. It used to be real. We've lost it. We need to get it back. And the last way you can honor me is every day find one way to be kind when least inclined. To reach out to a stranger who makes you nervous, to do something kind for someone who's been really mean to you, to drop anonymous, meaningful gifts, to those who are kind to you, to transcend this politeness and friendliness and tact and niceness stuff that we've been told we have to be, and get to kindness. Acts of goodness that bring nothing to self, even better, that cost us something, where not only do we get nothing in return, but they are difficult to do. Yeah, that kind of mentality, that is what brings us close together. That's what's going to spread out like the ripples in the pond and ultimately lead to a peace-filled world. And you can do that once a day. Is powerful. You can change your entire community with one act of radical, selfless, often self-sacrificial kindness a day. So that's it. I can close it. Just over 30 minutes. Not bad. You all know I'm long-winded. I thought it was going to be an hour. So kudos to me for keeping it at roughly 30. Crazy Horse once said, a greater vision must come to be, and we must all follow that vision as the eagle seeks the sky's deepest blue. Very poetic, and it has that, it fits perfectly with what I'm trying to share, right? It's not enough to just be good, right? We need to be love. The verb. It's not enough just to be nice. We need to be kind. It's not enough to love animals, right? We need to act accordingly for all of their species, right? We need to walk our talk in every encounter we have with every sentient being we encounter. And we can do this. People are doing it. By the millions now, people are doing it. This is not a pipe dream. This is a real opportunity for each and every one of you. And it is spreading and sharing the reality of this opportunity. That is why I am now walking and will walk in some form this way for the rest of my life, however long I'm blessed to have that life be. Okay? So that's it. I love you guys dearly. And keep positive thoughts. You know, you'll be tempted to worry about me. It's wasted energy. I can tell you from personal experience. If you want to worry, I can't stop you, but it's a waste of your life. Try to, when you're tempted to worry or think negatively about my message or about my journey or my choice or my walk, you know, save yourself the trouble and the wasted energy and choose to pause and shift. And maybe go do something kind in honor of what I'm doing and what you're doing and this life we are all living together, right? Keep it positive, keep it loving. Every day try to be a little more radically kind than the day before. And together we can really do this. We can really turn this ship around. And it's getting late, but it's not too late. It's not too late for us, for humanity. We can do this. So that's it. To honor Hawaii and the Big Island, where all of this kind of came together for me back in 2003, 2004, and 2005. You know, everything I'd been preparing for just kind of blossomed then and has been continually blossoming further and further ever since. I'm going to say, instead of goodbye or farewell, I'm going to say ahui ho, which in Hawaiian essentially means, you know, and there is no goodbye. It is until we meet again. And I would love to meet each and every one of you, if not for the first time, again and again. That's it. Love you guys. I'll try to upload this now. Fingers crossed. You know me and technology, but I have faith it's going to work. And if you would like to meet me at some point, and you really feel a calling, by the way, to host a presentation, or host me, or see me, or whatever, if that feeling is strong, drop me an email, rediscoveringpeace@gmail.com. I'll be checking in every now and then. And I can't promise I will make it to where you are, or if and when I do make it there in a certain time frame, because I have no idea how or when that'll work, but I will put a gold dot on my map with your name on it. And whenever I am near that gold dot, I will head your direction and knock on your door. And we'll see what happens. Something beautiful for sure. Okay, that's it. Love you guys. Very, very excited about this. I have been for a long time, and that it's finally happening. I cannot express how grateful and overjoyed I am to have this opportunity to do this and to share this with you. So that's it. Live a good life. Be love, be kindness, and peace out and peace in.